Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report. And coming up on today's show, I'm going to be looking at my Raiders 53-man roster grades for every single player. So a lot of times I like to do this show after free agency. We grade the players that the Raiders sign. After the NFL draft, we grade the players that the Raiders end up drafting. With a week away from our Week 1 matchup up against the New England Patriots, and after all the roster cuts that happened, I wanted to be able to sit down, look at every single player on this 53-man, and I'm going to give you a grade, and it's going to be an honest grade for not only the player, but the entire position group for the silver and black. Now, if you've watched this show before, you probably know how my grading system goes. A is amazing. B is a good grade. C is an average. If that player is average in the NFL compared to their other peers at that position, it's going to be a C. A D, they're below average. It's subpar. F is a big old fat fail. I'll be honest. There's not a single player on the Raiders that I gave an F grade to, though when I first made this show, there was one player, and his name was Thayer Munford. Luckily, not a part of the squad anymore. So I want to know from all of y'all, and I'm going to give you guys my grade at the very, very end of today's show. So if you want to see my grade for the Raiders roster, you got to watch until the very end. This is going to be the pinned comment, and I want you to grade the Raiders roster A, B, C, D, or F. Want you to be honest. I'm always honest, and I hope that you guys can bring the same energy. All right, so here's how we're going to do this. We're going to go through, and we're going to start with the offensive side of the football. This is going to look similar to some of the 53-man shows that we have done in the past, and we're going to go through it depth chart by depth chart. We're going to be breaking it down overall, but we are going to start off with the quarterback position. You know that there's Geno Smith. You know that there's Kenny Pickett. Aiden O'Connell did just get put to the IR. He is expected that he's going to be back by week 5. So ultimately, when you look at this Raiders quarterback room, I knew that there was going to be some people asking me whether or not Aiden, Kenny Pickett, Geno Smith. I like this Raiders quarterback room. I do think it's one of the better QB rooms in terms of some of the depth there because no disrespect to Cam Miller, I do think that Aiden O'Connell is a good quarterback number 3. I think Kenny Pickett is a good quarterback number 2. And Geno Smith, to me, is one of the most underappreciated, underrated quarterbacks in the entire National Football League. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give Geno Smith a solid B-plus grade. I think that he has the upside to be a top 10 quarterback. He somewhere for me is right around that world of 11, 12, 13, 14. I could put him with a multitude of different guys. B-plus for Geno Smith. For Kenny Pickett, I'm going to give him a C. I think he is an average backup quarterback. That's why that grade is out there. Aiden O'Connell, I do think is slightly worse than Kenny Pickett, but I still will say he's not a subpar backup quarterback. I believe he is a good, slightly below average backup QB. That's why you see the C- grade there. Now, the overall Raiders quarterback room compared to every other quarterback room in the National Football League, I'm going to go ahead and give it a B-. And you're going to see some of these grades are skewed because they're top-heavy. And I think the perfect example of that is going to be coming up here next with this next position group, and it's going to be the running back room because we know we have an amazing back in Ashton Genty. Now, some of those other guys are going to have to fill in some voids, no doubt about it, but ultimately, you feel confident about the Raiders running back room because of the top dog that you got in there, the dude that you drafted number 6 overall out of Boise State. For that reason, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give Genty an A grade overall. Really solid running back. He's a top 5 back in terms of talent to me. Zamir White, I'm actually surprised I'm giving Zeus a C grade. And I say that because I'm hoping I didn't just fall in love with that final preseason game because it gave me a little bit of the butterfly feeling that he gave me back in 2023. He needs to step it up, though, and keep playing well. Raheem Mostert, C-. Dylan Laube, I did put at a D grade. He is really just on this roster to me to just add a little bit of that special teams value. So the overall running back room, it's a B+ to me. This is an above-average running back room because of that man and that man right there. Let's go to the wide receiver room, and I'll tell you what, I might actually have to switch up this depth chart graphic because based on some of the comments that Pete Carroll made, kind of sounds like Amari Cooper is going to be that wide receiver 3, and they're going to let Dante Thornton and Jack Besh materialize a little bit more, and those guys will get those opportunities, no doubt about it. So my wide receiver grades that I have here for the silver and black, Jacoby Myers is a really good wide receiver. Really underappreciated. Trey Tucker, I'm going to give a C+. I think he's going to have that third-year breakout. Dante Thornton Jr., Amari Cooper, to me, are both going to be C's. Is Amari maybe the more crisp route runner and receiver? Yes. But do I think that Dante's ability to block and stretch the field opens up this offense more? Yes, I do. And then Jack Besh has still got to materialize a little bit. I would say he kind of reminds me of, like, if you were to combine a Brock Bowers and a Hunter Renfrow and make him like the light version of that, that's kind of where I'm staying with Jack. He's a good blocker. He does a lot of the dirty work, and I think that he is the hope to replace Jacoby Myers. He's just not ready for that responsibility right now. So overall, I'm going to give the Raiders wide receiver room a C+ grade. It is an average to maybe a slightly above average. So when you see C+, I want you guys to think that Mitch thinks that this is maybe like the 15th best wide receiver room from top to bottom in the NFL. But I'm also saying that based on fit, because we got a lot of guys here that can block. We got a lot of unselfish players, and that helps our offense overall. If you guys didn't know this, I want to continue to grow this family, and we're getting closer and closer to 199,000 subscribers, and Chugs just sneezed. You know, it's a good example that we're family. Type bless you down below. Shout out to my guy. So we are getting closer and closer. The last time that I checked, we were at 269. I actually just refreshed my computer this morning. We were going to film this video late yesterday, but the Micah Parsons trade happened, and we talked about that. We are actually now 155 subs away from 199,000. I don't know about you. I'm trying to get to 200K by the kickoff. Let's go to the tight end room now here, and we only have three of them. Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, and Ian Thomas. And I don't mean to use the word only as a knock to this room. I use it as we really only need three tight ends, because you're going to see this team run a lot of 11 personnel, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end. And we got Brock Bowers. He's the best on the planet. I actually almost added an extra plus in there just to reassure everyone that he is the best tight end in the National Football League. I put a B+ for Michael Mayer because I think he has the upside to be a top 12 tight end. His problem is he's just behind the best guy in the business. For Ian Thomas, C-. He's going to do some of the stuff that's, you know, some of the dirty work and blocking. You're going to see him get some red zone opportunities from time to time. But ultimately, you know, if you got 100 targets, 70 got to go to him, 29 are going to go to him, and maybe he gets 1 target in there. I think Ian Thomas is just on the team for the extra position, a little bit of extra depth. Overall, I'm going to give this tight end room an A. I think it's one of the best, if not the best, tight end room in the National Football League. Let's go now to the offensive line, and when I do these grades, I am going to differentiate them, where we're going to grade the starting overall offensive line, and then I'm going to grade the backups, because I think that's the way that I look at this line, and I don't think that it's fair to judge the starters based on how weak our depth is. So the Raiders starting offensive line grades, I went this route. I gave Colton Miller an A. He's one of the best left tackles in the league. Dylan Parham has impressed me this offseason. I gave him a B-. Jordan Meredith is a C. I've heard some good stuff, but I got to wait and see what he looks like this season. Got some confidence around him. JPJ's a B+. DJ Glaze, I went ahead and gave it a C+. So overall, this Raiders starting offensive line, I think it is a good unit. And I have confidence in this unit, and I'm happy that they went the route that they did. My 2 biggest question marks, though, Jordan Meredith, DJ Glaze, and I don't think that's an unfair statement to make. But let's go to the backup offensive lineman, and this is where I get worried, because to me, Kappa I gave a C- grade to, and even though he was the worst starting offensive lineman last season, he's clearly the 6th offensive lineman on this roster. Charles Grant, Stone Forsythe, I gave those D+, and he is an upgrade over Thayer Munford, but obviously you guys can see my concern. And then for Will Putnam and Caleb Rogers, one of my lowest grades is a D-, and Rogers was my lowest graded player that the Raiders drafted. And I think that you could clearly see this offseason, he just needs a little bit more work out there. But I have high hopes for Charles Grant, and I still have high hopes for Caleb Rogers. It's just they're rookies, and you can tell. But my backup offensive line grade is a D for the Silver and Black. Coming up next year, we got to get into the defense. And I know when I do these shows anymore, probably 90% of y'all are going, all right, well, we got to talk about the defense because the defense is the spot that scares you. It scares me. It scares anybody that follows this team as closely as what we do. You know what something else is scary? How much fun you can have when you're playing PrizePicks. And I love my wife. I had to say goodbye to her today. She's going to Paris. She's like going to be gone for like 10 days to 2 weeks. So Chuck and I, bonjour and bonjour. What is it? Bon voyage. Yeah, again, I'm not the best with words. So, but like, PrizePicks is back, and I'm excited because I'm going to watch a ridiculous amount of football. So much that I might have to clear my history when she gets back. And if you want to run your game all season long with me and with PrizePicks, then I want you to download the PrizePicks app today. Use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks run your game, and the reason why I love PrizePicks is they're going to put members first. So all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your account this football season. If you want to know what my picks are, I'm going to roll with Dak Prescott more. It's essentially the freebie. Then you got Brock Bowers, Geno Smith, Jacoby Myers. Give me the more all there. Jack Besh, I went less than 600 receiving yards, which I am feeling really good about now that Amari Cooper was added to this roster. But this is a $20 lineup, and if it hits, I end up getting $320. And best part is I'm going to be watching all the Raiders games. I'm going to be watching to see what the Cowboys do week 1 up against the Philadelphia Eagles. And if you want to tune in and watch that game with Chugs and I, we will be live on the Raiders Report. So again, play $5, get $50 instantly in lineups. Real money sports action made easy with our sponsor, PrizePicks. That link is down in the comments. It's down in the description of today's show. All right, let's get into now the defensive side of the football. And when you're talking about defense, there's a certain letter in there. There's a D. And I'm just going to warn you, you're going to see some D's on the defense. And it's when I do this show, I wake up every morning and I'm like, I'm going to be an honest human being. Because if you're not honest, then what are you in life? So this is the Raiders defensive end group. After the silver and black, friendly reminder, they went out. They claimed Brennan Jackson. I did a video on him a little bit earlier in the week. If you want to go check it out, it's the video that is titled Triple Dose of Raiders News. And Jackson you could see on the thumbnail. But for me, this is my Raiders defensive end grades. And Max Crosby, A+. Duh. Malcolm Koonce, I gave a C+ to, and that one kind of hurt me a little bit because I want Malcolm to look the version that he did in 2023. And you saw a little bit of glimpses of it in that third preseason game, but he was pretty uninspiring the first few preseason games. Some of the training camp reports I've heard and lack thereof, I guess I should say. Tyree Wilson, I put B- for, and this is more of a defensive tackle, defensive end grade. If it was just straight up DE, I'd probably give it a C-, but at DT, I gave it probably a B+. So because of that, we're going to meet in the middle somewhere at B-. Charles Snowden and Brennan Jackson, D+. These are bottom of the roster guys, essentially. When Malcolm, when Max, and Tyree need a breather, you bring in one of these players for 4, 5, maybe 10 snaps a game. You're not asking them to do too much overall. Let's go to the big boys on the interior now. The Raiders defensive tackle room. And we got 6 bodies here. 6 bodies. And I'm very confident in 2 out of the 6. Everything else to me is going to be a little bit more of a wait-and-see approach. Now, I do anticipate that Thomas Booker and Adam Butler are going to be the top 2 defensive tackles on this team until the Raiders put out their official depth chart. We're going to wait and see. For Butler, I gave a B- grade. Thomas Booker's a C+. John Lalu is a C-. I mean, you're going to really have to depend on these 2 guys. But then for Lalu, Hemingway, J.J. Pegues, Lecky Fotu, it's just going to be a lot of moving parts and a lot of rotation overall. I think that this is an average, and I mean very average defensive tackle group. The hope is, though, your defensive line coach, Rob Leonard, who's one of the best in the biz, can get this C and turn it into a C+, to turn it into a B-, because that's going to help out your entire defensive line. Let's go to the next position group here, but actually, before I do that, I do want to let y'all know that today we're going to be giving away our 2 final fantasy football spots when we go live. And Chugs and I have a hell of a show on tap for you guys today. I hope y'all bring your Drake and pants. I hope you're ready to buckle up, Buttercup, because Chugs and I are going to do something today that. Man, I don't even know, bro. We haven't done it in years. So if you're a real one, get ready. We're going live 1 hour early because we are getting absolutely insane. It's the final Friday happy hour before the season kicks off. If you bleed silver and black, if you're down to have a good time, if you're a real one, I know I'll see you live on the Raiders Report, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, noon Pacific. Let's go to the linebacker room now, and we got 6 of these LBs. Jermaine Pratt, Landon Roberts, Devin White, and Jamal Adams are going to be your top 2 starters overall, and you're going to be able to like the way you look, I guarantee it. In terms of the Raiders, I know that Cody Lindenberg is maybe not featured on that list. I might have screwed that one up. For Lindenberg, though, I'm going to go ahead and give him a D grade. Sorry, we were building this early this morning. That's on me. You can go to it. Jermaine Pratt, C+. Landon Roberts, C. Devin White, C. Jamal Adams, C. I think, again, these are, average moves, and you're hoping that they turn out to be better. I do think that Jermaine Pratt is the best linebacker on this squad. For Tommy Eichenberg, if you also just want to put Lindenberg's name there, they're both going to be a D grade. They are both subpar. They're both just under, what you're looking for in terms of being a starter. But, that's that tier gap, right? You're going to see predominantly Pratt, Roberts, White, Jamal Adams out there. And then you're going to see a sprinkle of Eichenberg. You're going to see a sprinkle of Lindenberg. Probably those 2 players are going to get a lot more work on special teams just because you're not – I would be surprised if the Raiders are putting 29-year-old or older linebackers out there on special teams. Let Eichenberg and Lindenberg do some of that dirty work. Let's go to the spot that I am the most nervous to talk about, and that is the cornerback room. This cornerback room is going to remind me of my first, I'd say, 9th grade algebra tests. And if you know anything about me, I had to go to summer school in 9th grade because algebra, this might shock you, was not my best subject. Before I show you the grades for this Raiders cornerback room, if you like this shirt that I'm rocking, and I'm going to be rocking tons of new Raiders gear, but I got it from 2 different companies. This one is Tour de Force Unlimited. All I want you to do is this. If you want this Marcus Allen, they have tons of other legit Raiders t-shirts. DM them Raiders Report, but you got to follow them on Instagram. I put it down there. I also shared it on my Instagram story. If this is, too difficult for you to find, believe me, I'm not great at finding things either. At least that's what my wife tells me. So if you need to be able to find the link, it's on my Instagram story. Give them a follow. DM them Raiders Report if you want the hookup. Let's go to the cornerback grades. It's not good, man. Eric Stokes is the C, and I think he's an average corner, and he's your top guy. There is not another player on this roster that I think would start on any other team in the National Football League. There are a few players on this list that I don't think make 75% of NFL rosters. Darnay Holmes, I want to believe in him. DeCamerion Richardson, I know we heard some good things about him this offseason, but there's a reason why he's behind Darian Porter. There's a reason why he's behind Kai Blue Kelly. And for the Raiders, that Week 1 matchup, you're going to see a lot of Porter, you're going to see a lot of Kai Blue, and you're going to see almost all of Stokes. I, on behalf of Raider Nation, am begging the Silver and Black to upgrade this room. I get that you're confident. I understand that you're confident. But I could also be confident that I'm going to beat Usain Bolt in a race. Doesn't mean I'm going to beat him in a race. For that reason, it's a D grade for the corners. Let's go to the safety room now. And I did end up grading Lonnie Johnson Jr., and I'm basing it off of what I think he's going to be able to bring to the table once he returns from that injury. Reminder that the Silver and Black did sign Tristan McCullum yesterday, which was a move that I talked about in that breaking news show, which was around Micah Parsons getting traded to the freaking Green Bay Packers. Quite frankly, I still can't even believe that it ended up happening, but this was a move that sounded like it was materializing or maturing for quite some time. But to me, you got Jeremy Chin, you got Isaiah Ballamau. Those are going to be your top 2 safeties, and those are going to be the 2 guys that you're going to rely on a ton. And you should rely on both of those players a ton. For the other guys on this team, I'm going to go Tristan McCullum. I'm going to give him a D+. Lonnie Johnson's a D, and then Chris Smith is going to end up being a D. I am very unsure about what Johnson is going to be able to bring to the table once he gets back, and some of you might think that that's a little bit too low, but he also was somebody that was on practice squads, and he's somebody that was fighting for roster spots with the New Orleans Saints, and I don't think that they were a very good team. They had a better defense, but Jeremy Chinn's your star. Isaiah Paul-Amal really got to step up for everybody else. Let's now go to the Raiders special teams unit, and I should mention Alex Bachman is not on this team. I forgot to take his name off of the depth chart, so that's on me. Trey Tucker is going to be your starting punt return and kick return guy, and I think that you're going to see Laube do a lot of that. Also, Sincere McCormick, he's not on the team either. McCormick actually signed with the 49ers the other day, so I think the backup duty is going to be Dylan Laube predominantly for the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, maybe they try to get a few other people in the mix there. Maybe Zamir White helps out on some kick returns. I know he did that as well, but ultimately, I think you're going to see Dylan Laube handle the backup returning roles there for both punt and for kick return. So I wanted to talk about the special teams grades. I'm not really going to get into it for the returning side. I'm really only going to talk about it. Daniel Carlson, C+. There are times where he looks like an above-average kicker, and then there's times where he looks like a below-average kicker. He just needs to be a little bit more consistent. I didn't know what to give Jacob Bobenware. He's a long snapper. To me, I gave him an above-average grade because he's worked with this unit for so many years, and I think for a long snapper, it's more about chemistry. So I gave him that, and then A.J. Cole, best punter on the planet, A+. Overall, our special teams unit is a B+. So I did tell you, if you made it this far in the show, I would give you my grade on this Raiders roster. The cool part, I'm going to give you my offensive grade, I'm going to give you my defensive grade, and I'm going to give you my overall grade for the silver and black. So we got this. And I think this looks like a lot of report cards I had in high school. Offense, B+. I think that this is one of the better offenses in the NFL. I think they have legit top 12 upside. The defense scares the absolute bejesus out of me. And if this was a C-, it would be a 71 grade. Luckily, we got guys like Max. Luckily, we have a few studs on that defense. But this secondary might be the worst in the NFL. So overall, C+ grade. This is an average football team as it stands right now. An average football team to me is winning 8 to 9 games. That's where I think this Raiders team stands. And if you made it this far in the show, I would love to know what your grade is for offense, defense, and also the overall unit.